Hello again, nursing students. Welcome to another session of psychiatric and mental health nursing lectures. And for today, our topic will be all about psychopathology, etiology, and psychodynamics of sleep and wakefulness disorders. Let's first talk about sleep and wakefulness. So, pag-usapan muna natin at alamin muna natin ano ba yung tulog, ano ba yung konsepto ng pagtulog, at ano naman yung konsepto ng paggising or yung tinatawag natin na wakefulness. Ang sleep ay isang natural state of rest na kung saan nagre-recharge ang ating utak at ang ating isipan. Kaya nga kung ihahalin tulad natin kung ihahalin tulad natin tayong mga tao sa isang bagay, parang mobile phones or cellular phones na kapag ginagamit natin, definitely pag naubos na ang baterya niya or wala na siyang battery for us to use, kailangan niya nang i-charge. Na para din tayong mga tao, once we already consumed all the energy that we have, pagkatapos gampanan ang isang activity, ma-accomplish ang isang task, kinakailangan na nating matulog para ma-replenish ulit, ma-recharge ulit ang ating katawan, magkaroon ka ulit ng energy para makapag-function ulit tayo ng maayos. May dalawang iba't ibang klase ng sleep. Ito yung tinatawag nating non-rapid eye movement or NREM or yung tinatawag naman nating rapid eye movement or REM. Let's first discuss NREM. Ito yung deep at restorative sleep nating mga tao. Dito kasi nangyayari yung repair ng ating katawan, let's say for example, sa tissue, sa muscles, even sa ating immune system, na kumbaga parang ang nangyayari sa non-rapid eye movement natin is more of a maintenance mode ng ating katawan. Kumbaga, kinakailangan nating i-restore ulit yung ating body as well as ang ating isipan para once na gumising ulit tayo, meron na tayong lakas para gumawa ulit ng mga activities na dapat nating ma-accomplish. So, kumbaga kung ihahalin tulad natin ang tao sa isang computer system, ito yung parang nire-reset or nire-restart natin para ma-check yung mga bugs or errors na kailangang ayusin sa computer natin na kumbaga sa tao, habang natutulog ka, may nagme-maintain ng body system natin. Now, let's talk about the rapid eye movement or REM. Ito naman yung dream sleep natin. Guys, ito ay importante kasi dito nabibigyan pansin yung ating memory at yung learning process natin. Ang brain activity dito ay halos kasing active kapag tayo ay gising. Kaya nga minsan may mga panaginip tayo na vivid sa ating isipan yung mga scenario, yung mga events, kasi nga it is similar to a save mode ng ating utak ang nangyayari sa atin habang tayo ay natutulog. Kumbaga, lahat ng natututunan natin sa everyday life natin, sinesave at nare-reorganize dito sa bahagi ng utak natin na to while we are sleeping. On the other hand, may tinatawag tayong wakefulness. Now, kung tatagalugin natin, ito yung salitang kapag ang tao ay gising, paggising, na it deals or it refers to the active, alert state natin na kung saan nakikipag-interact or may ugnayan tayo with our environment, with the people in our surrounding. Ito yung oras na gising tayo kasi kailangan nating makipag-usap sa ibang tao. Kailangan nating mag-aral, kailangan nating kumain, kailangan nating magbihis, maglaro, maglakad, magbiyahe. Na ito, parang kumbaga naka-online mode tayo. We are ready to connect, we are ready to respond, and even ready to act. So yan naman ang wakefulness. Now, bakit kailangan or bakit importante ang pagtulog or ba't importante ang matulog? Of course, number one, it helps us restore energy and immunity. Kapag kasi natutulog tayo, nare-recharge ang ating body. At the same time, our immune system gets stronger. Kaya, less chances tayo mag-develop ng sakit, especially infection. It helps supports the mental health na ito nakakatulong. Enough sleep helps us regulate our mood, regulate stress, no? At mas less yung chances na mag-develop yung mga anxiety, depression, even irritability sa atin. It helps improve memory and learning. During sleep, lalo na sa rapid eye movement stage, ang ating utak ay nag-organize at nag-i-store ng information, especially the learning process. Kaya mas nagiging sharp ang concentration natin at mas madali mag-retain ng lecture sa atin. That's why nursing students, it is highly advisable for you to have enough sleep before examination para yung retention at recall ng lectures or ng topics na kailangan ninyong isipin, alalahanin as you answer questions in your exams, madali nyo siyang ma-retrieve or mas meron kayong retention na mararanasan. Now, lack of sleep consequences or may lead to irritability, poor judgment, and even psychiatric symptoms na ito importante class na maiwasan kasi if patuloy tayo sa buhay or sa sitwasyon na wala tayong enough na tulog, maaari itong mag-lead to hallucinations, paranoia, or worsening mental illness. Madalas class ito let's say for example, may mga nurses na naka-duty ng 24 hours straight na minsan nagkakaroon ng problema when it comes to documenting their job or their task. Halimbawa, nagkakamali sa charting o kaya naman nakaka-commit ng errors in administering medications kasi nga impaired na yung judgment or altered na nagkakaroon na ng alteration in their brain function. It's primarily because kasi kulang na sila sa tulog. Lack of sleep, lack of rest na ang kanilang katawan, lalong-lalo na ang kanilang isipan. Now, let's talk about several identified disorders or problems based on DSM-5. Isa na dito yung tinatawag nating insomnia. Ang insomnia disorder is a dissatisfaction with sleep quantity or quality. Ito yung mga primary element ng insomnia. Madalas ang isang individual nakakaranas ng difficulty in falling asleep, hirap makatulog kasi kahit na pagod na sila physically or mentally, madalas nag-overthink sila kaya nagde-develop into anxiousness or restlessness. Let's say for example, gusto niya nang matulog pero ang dami-dami niyang iniisip, kaya mas lalong hindi siya nakakatulog. Difficulty maintaining sleep. Ito naman, madalas nagigising, nakatulog na, pero yung tao, madalas siyang nagigising mas minsan sa kalagitnaan ng gabi. So, anong nangyayari? Hindi tuloy-tuloy yung tulog niya. Na kung hindi tuloy-tuloy ang kanyang tulog, hindi nakakaabot dun sa deep sleep stage yung individual, then definitely kulang pa din or not enough pa din yung rest na kailangan ng katawan niya at ng kanyang isipan. Early morning awakening, bahagi din ito ng concerns or bahagi din ito ng manifestations ng mga taong may insomnia disorder. Ito naman, yung individual gumigising ng masyadong maaga at hindi din siya agad-agad nakakabalik sa tulog. Let's say nagising siya at around 2 a.m. Pero gusto pa niyang matulog kaso nahihirapan na siyang makabalik sa tulog. Common ito sa mga taong may anxiety, common din ito sa mga taong may depression. Meron ding iba't ibang subtypes ang insomnia. Example, yung tinatawag nating inadequate sleep hygiene. Ito nangyayari kapag ang tao ay may mga pag-uugali or gawain na nakakasira sa kanyang tulog. Halimbawa, yung pag-inom ng caffeinated drinks, let's say coffee or soft drinks before matulog. Minsan, hindi naman sa pag-inom ng caffeinated drinks, pero part of the lifestyle is smoking. So, cigarette smoking bago matulog. O kaya naman, sobrang emosyonal or masyado namang what you call this, into physical activity yung isang tao bago bedtime. O kaya naman, irregular yung sleep schedule niya or mas madalas siyang magkaroon ng nap time during the day or during araw or let's say sa tanghali, siesta time, ganon. So ano nagiging epekto? Hindi makatulog ng maayos or nahihirapang mag-adapt yung katawan at yung utak natin into sleep kasi nga highly activated pa sila. Highly activated because of those substances and because of those activities. Now, what will be the recommended treatment? Of course, it's a must that we help these individuals to apply sleep hygiene measures. Ito yung mga iba't ibang klase ng activities na pwedeng gamitin as bedtime routine. Let's say, no more caffeinated drinks, no more coffee, no more soft drinks, no more gadgets before bedtime, or we are helping the individuals ensuring a quiet environment. It could also be through cognitive behavioral techniques or CBT na dito babaguhin natin yung mga negative na pag-iisip or negative behaviors no towards sleep or bago matulog. And we can also benefit out of medication na minsan ginagamit kung hindi sapat yung mga behavioral therapy natin. Medications that will help induce sleep among individuals. Next will be the psychophysiological insomnia. The psychophysiological insomnia, ito mas madalas ay mga stress-related insomnia. Please take note of that, stress-related insomnia. Dito, ang individual ay nagkakaroon ng conditioned arousal. Ibig sabihin, sanay na yung utak niya na magising, no? Tuwing oras ng tulog kasi nga meron siyang nararamdamang stress, may nararamdaman siyang anxiety. Dito merong makikita tayo or mauobserbahan na sobra-sobrang pag-aalala kung let's say for example, tulog na pero may sobra-sobrang pag-aalala pa siyang nararamdaman. Merong trying too hard to sleep moments yung tao. May tinatawag tayong rumination. Ang rumination, it refers to paulit-ulit na pag-iisip. That's what rumination is. May mga muscle tensions at when it comes to management, the person can benefit from relaxation therapy such as breathing exercises, meditation, mga sleep hygiene measures, consistent bedtime routines. It could also be a benefit or advantage out of stimulus control therapy. Ito ginagamit kapag ito ginagamit or ginagamit lamang siya kapag nahihirapang makatulog yung tao na nahihirapan siyang makatulog hindi dahil sa pag-i-scroll or sa pag-aaral, kung hindi ah, maraming tumatakbo sa kanyang isipan, masyadong marami siyang iniisip. Paradoxical insomnia, ito naman, yung tao ang tao ay iniisip na gising siya kahit na tulog na pala siya, pero ito kasi based on their brainwaves, ayon sa kanyang brainwaves. Kumbaga parang false perception ang paradoxical insomnia of wakefulness. So para sa kanya gising siya, but tulog na pala siya. So parang ganon. So ito, this is out of ruminative worrying. So yun yung pinagmumulan nito. Itong concerns natin in the paradoxical insomnia na sobra-sobra yung pag-iisip niya na hindi daw siya makatulog, pero in reality, nakakatulog naman or tulog naman pala siya. Merong mga interruption of rumination. So, pwede nating i-manage yun through interruption of rumination. Let's say, turuan natin yung client na huwag masyadong mag-focus sa pag-iisip kung tulog na siya or hindi pa. Or hindi pa siya natutulog. Diminished worry, ibig sabihin, bawasan natin yung takot or yung guilt na hindi siya matulog or hindi pa siya natutulog. Other subtypes of insomnia could be behavioral insomnia of childhood. Ito naman yung common among kids. Ang bata ay nagiging dependent sa specific stimulation or objects or setting para makatulog. Halimbawa, kinakailangan niyang hawakan yung isang laruan niya or stuffed toy niya or let's say a gadget o kaya naman certain routine bago makatulog, bago pa siya makatulog. Now, problem dito, kapag nawala na yung object or hindi nasunod yung routine, hirap silang makatulog or nahihirapan silang bumalik sa kanilang tulog. So, pwedeng ganun yung ma-experience nila. Now, here, of course, for the management, we have to involve the parents or the caregivers of the child that they need to set limits. Ibig sabihin nito, we have to establish consistent bedtime routines as much as possible, no more toys or no more gadgets, and we have to teach them self-soothing techniques or actions para hindi sila maging dependent on certain objects or certain things that will stimulate them to sleep. One of the subtypes of insomnia is also the idiopathic insomnia. It's a lifelong inability to get adequate sleep. Usually, may mga associated neurological deficit when it comes to the sleep and wake cycle ang isang tao. The idiopathic insomnia, it's a chronic condition, hindi nawawala kahit bata pa or kahit hindi to agad-agad nawawala, ibig sabihin mula pa sa pagkabata hanggang sa adulthood, dala-dala nila itong chronic condition na ito. But this can be managed to improve self-hygiene. It could be a relaxation therapy, halimbawa meditation, mga deep breathing exercises, or they can take advantage they can take advantage from long-term medication kagaya ng mga sleep-inducing drugs pero dapat monitored or prescribed ito ng physician. And last is the insomnia due to mental disorder or any substance secondary insomnia. Ibig sabihin, may existing or meron pang ibang mental disorder or problem na hinaharap yung individual o kaya siya ay under the influence of a certain substance like caffeine, stimulants or CNS stimulants or certain medication na nagpapagising sa kanya or nagpapa-stimulate sa kanya na manatiling gising at hindi matulog. For the management, of course, kung may associated other psychiatric or mental health problem, we have to address that as the primary case or condition. So we will treat or we will use intervention appropriate or applicable to that underlying cause. So ima-manage muna yung mental problem or we have to stop the substance na ginagamit ng client natin. But medication for sleep can be managed or can be beneficial, especially mga short-term use lang na mga pampatulog, sleep hygiene measures, and we have to avoid stimulants like caffeine or drugs para hindi maka-interfere sa pagtulog ng patient natin. Now, this could be the different sleep hygiene measures that we can implement or that we can teach to our clients. So, number one is establish a regular schedule for going to bed and arising. Avoid sleep deprivation and the desire to catch up by excessive sleeping. Di ba may iba kasi sa atin, let's say for example, today maaga ako nagising out of puyat. So, mamayang gabi, babawi ako ng tulog kasi kinabukasan wala naman akong pasok. So, what I will do, I will tend to sleep, no? Sleep more or stay in bed more para makabawi. Yun yung ibig niya sabihin about the quote-unquote catch up. Catch up through excessive sleeping. Other sleep hygiene measure could be avoid eating large meals before bedtime. However, light snacks is permissible. Avoid daytime naps unless necessitated by advanced age or let's say a physical condition or an existing illness or infection, pwedeng ganon. Kaya mas madalas kahit sa hapon or sa umaga or during daytime, natutulog kasi nga nagre-recover yung pasyente or yung tao. Exercise daily, but make sure to observe your activity late afternoon or early evening. Minimize or eliminate caffeine and the ingestion of nicotine. Do not look at the clock while lying in bed. Keep the temperature in the bedroom slightly cool. Kasi kapag mas cool or medyo malamig yung environment, nakakatulong ito for us to sleep, for us to rest. Do not drink alcohol in an attempt to sleep. Alcohol worsens sleep disturbance. Do not use the bed for reading, working, watching television, and so forth. If you worried about something, try to write it down. Let's say, yung pang mag-journaling na lang, advice to do journaling, and then once you journal it, or once you write it down, you have to let it go, kasi we have to allow our body to recharge, allow our body to rest. Soft music or relaxation music, or even white noise may be helpful para matulungan tayong makatulog or makapagpahinga. Now, other forms of disorders based on the DSM-5, we have, or we call it, hypersomnolence disorder. Now, for the hypersomnolence disorder, ito naman, it's a form of excessive sleepiness. Ito yung tuloy-tuloy na sobrang antok for at least 1 month. That is our basis, no, from the DSM-5. Kasama dito yung mga prolonged sleep episodes, yung mahaba ang tulog, minsan between 8 to 12 hours, and merong daily daytime sleeping na kahit sa araw, inaantok or natutulog agad-agad yung tao. Example nito, kahit 10 hours na siyang tulog, inaantok pa din siya buong araw. Medyo mahirap gisingin ang mga taong may hypersomnolence disorder. Mahirap gumising kahit na mahaba naman or enough naman na yung tulog nila. Ito yung parang ang nararamdaman nila is there is what we call sleep inertia, na kung saan nagkakaroon ng episodes or pakiramdam na groggy, mabagal, at hindi alerto yung kanilang pag-iisip kahit na nagising na sila. Meron din tinatawag na mga daytime naps na unrefreshing para sa isang individual na may hypersomnolence disorder. Ang ibig sabihin nito, kahit mag-nap sila during daytime, let's say after lunch, hindi nagiging refreshed yung kanilang pakiramdam. Ibig sabihin, may mga sleep regulation dysfunction sa utak, kaya hindi tama yung cycle ng tulog at paggising nila. But the hypersomnolence disorder can be managed or can be treated using the CNS stimulants. So ito yung mga example ng gamots natin, mga amphetamines, modafinil, na ito yung mga nakakatulong in promoting wakefulness. Kasama na din yung pag-regulate ng sleep hygiene at monitor ng underlying causes. Next, let's move on to narcolepsy. Ang narcolepsy is a chronic excessive sleepiness. Ito yung constant na antok or inaantok kahit na sapat naman yung tulog na naranasan ng tao. Ito hindi lang simpleng puyat, kung hindi, ang narcolepsy ay isang neurologic disorder na may problema sa sleep-wake regulation. Let's say for example, kahit na yung isang individual, 8 hours na siyang natulog, bigla na lang siyang inaantok, let's say sa gitna ng klase or sa gitna ng trabaho. It is an irresistible sleep attack. There could be or there are sudden episodes ng pagtulog na hindi talaga niya mapigilan. Madalas tumatagal yung sleep episodes na to about 10 to 20 minutes. Tapos, refresh na sila sandali, pero babalik ulit sila or magkakaroon na naman ng surge ng pagkaantok or inaantok na naman ulit sila. Madalas nangyayari ang mga klase ng narcoleptic attack, halimbawa habang nagda-drive, habang nasa gitna ng klase, habang nagtatrabaho. Ayan. But there are clinical risk. Delikado ito lalo na kapag yung mga ginagawa mong activity will require alertness. Halimbawa, pagmamaneho. Halimbawa, factory workers operating machineries, lalo na mga heavy equipment. So, may clinical risk or may danger na kaakibat ang narcolepsy. Ang salitang cataplexy naman ay isang terminology that refers to a sudden, reversible loss of muscle tone, usually tumatagal mga segundo hanggang sa minuto ang itinatagal nito, but these are triggered by very strong emotions. Halimbawa, sobra-sobrang kaligayahan, sobra-sobrang galit, sobra-sobrang excitement. Ayan. So, example, halimbawa, yung individual tumatawa tapos bigla siyang nanghina, biglang natumba, biglang bumagsak. Kasi nagkaroon siya ng cataplexic episode. REM intrusions naman, these are the REM sleep intrudes into wakefulness. Kasama dito yung sleep paralysis, yung bang episodes na hindi makagalaw yung client kahit na gising naman na siya, at para bagang may tinatawag na dreamlike hallucination episodes siyang nararamdaman. Yung tipo na example, nagising yung tao pero hindi niya maigalaw yung let's say yung kanyang katawan, yung kanyang binte or yung kanyang hita. Tapos parang may nakikita siyang mga shadows within his or her vision. So, yan naman yung ibig sabihin yan, yung mga paralysis of voluntary muscles natin. So, these are examples of signs and symptoms associated with narcolepsy. It could be a daytime sleep attack, it could be a poor nighttime sleep, it could be a hallucination, a sleep paralysis, or a loss of muscle control. Now, narcolepsy can be treated or can be managed by medications such as your CNS stimulants. It could also benefit out of counseling, behavioral structuring, scheduling naps at convenient times as well. DSM-5 also presented some sleep-related breathing disorders. Now, sleep disruption refers to abnormalities pagdating sa ventilation natin habang tayo ay natutulog. Ibig sabihin, hindi maayos ang paghinga ng isang tao or ng isang individual habang siya ay natutulog. So, ang nagiging resulta, fragmented sleep, it could be a poor oxygenation, or it could lead to daytime sleepiness. Example nito para mas maging malalim ang pag-intindi natin, ang ibig sabihin lamang ng mga sleep-related breathing disorders natin, yung sleep disruption niya, kahit na mahaba yung tulog, ang nangyayari or nararanasan pa din is pagod pa din yung pakiramdam ng tao paggising niya sa umaga kasi mas madalas humihinto yung kanyang paghinga habang natutulog siya sa gabi. Meron tayong tinatawag na obstructive sleep apnea or OSA, obstructive sleep apnea. Ito yung repeated episodes of upper airway obstruction habang tulog ang isang tao. Common itong makita or maobserbahan sa mga obese individuals kasi sila yung may excess tissues sa throat area or sa may daanan ng hangin. Mas madalas ang sintomas na nakikita is the loud snoring or yung malakas na paghilik, gasping, choking, at daytime fatigue. May mga importante din tayong dapat na maalala pagdating sa usapin ng obstructive sleep apnea. It increases the risk in the development of hypertension, cardiac problem or cardiovascular disease, and even stroke. So, ang ibig sabihin lamang nito ng obstructive sleep apnea, parang may traffic jam sa airway natin or sa daanan ng hangin na hindi makadaan ang hangin kaya humihinto sa paghinga. There is also what we call central sleep apnea or CSA. Ito naman, it refers to the cessation of ventilation. Ibig sabihin, humihinto ang paghinga. Pero ang paghinto, walang kinalaman sa obstruction, walang barado, walang traffic jam. Dito ang problem is yung brain's respiratory control center, yung mismong nasa utak natin na nagko-control with our respiratory system, hindi nagsasend ng signal or hindi siya nagsasend ng impulse para yung lungs or yung respiratory system mag-react para siya ay huminga. Ito common na nakikita among older adults na may mga kondisyon na kagaya ng mga neurologic disorders. So, ang ibig sabihin, yung utak ay parang nakakalimot magbigay ng command sa respiratory system para siya ay huminga. Next is what we call the central alveolar hypoventilation. Ito naman, when you say hypoventilation, mabagal o mababaw ang paghinga. There is what we call low arterial oxygen levels. Ngayon, bakit ito nangyayari? Kasi dysfunction yung brainstem na kung saan yun yung ating respiratory center or nandoon ang ating respiratory center na siyang nagre-regulate ng breathing pattern natin. So, ang nagiging resulta, it's a chronic fatigue. It could also lead to cyanosis, even risk for respiratory failure. Now, how can we treat or manage sleep-related breathing disorders? So, pwede tayong mag-administer or we can put the client into a medical device called Continuous Positive Airway Pressure or CPAP. It's a machine, it's a medical equipment na pinaka-common na management lalo na for OSA or obstructive sleep apnea. Ang ginagawa ng makina na 'to, naglalagay siya nilalagay siya sa pasyente para mag-ensure or mag-maintain ng steady airflow para hindi magsara yung airway habang natutulog yung patient or yung client. So, ang nagiging epekto, mas naiiwasan ang paghilik, mas nag-i-improve ng oxygenation at mas nagbibigay ng restful sleep sa pasyente. So, ganito lang yan, class. Yung CPAP machine natin, parang electric fan na tuloy-tuloy yung hangin para hindi magsara yung bintana ng airway natin. So, parang ganun lamang siya. Next is surgical intervention. Kapag hindi naging effective yung medical device at severe condition na yung nararanasang sleep-related breathing disorder ni patient, maaari siyang maging candidate for a surgical procedure. Na dito, yung hypoglossal nerve, it will now be stimulated and may i-implant na device para mag-stimulate kay hypoglossal nerve. So, ang magiging resulta nito is an an activation ng tongue muscles para hindi mag-collapse yung airway natin. Sometimes it could be a tracheotomy na it's a surgical opening sa trachea, parang bypass yung upper airway obstruction natin. Usually, ito yung pinaka-last resort and ito talaga pang severe life-threatening sleep apnea na application lamang. Life-threatening sleep apnea condition. Kaya natin ina-apply yung tracheotomy. Now, surgical options are invasive. Ginagamit lamang ito kapag hindi na effective yung non-invasive treatment natin. So, these are also pictures, no, giving us or helping us understand the management for sleep apnea. We can now proceed with the circadian rhythm sleep-wake disorders. Ang circadian rhythm, isa itong part ng ating katawan. Sabi nga, it's the body's internal 24-hour clock na siyang nagre-regulate ng ating pagtulog, ng ating paggising, ng ating hormones, digestion, and even our energy level. Ang circadian rhythm ay influenced by our body's exposure to light. It disrupted by stress. Siya yung nagre-regulate ng sleep-wake cycle natin. And hormones involved in the circadian rhythm are melatonin and cortisol. Now, there is what we call circadian rhythm sleep-wake disorder. It's a persistent sleep disruption. Nangyayari ito kapag may altered functioning yung circadian rhythm natin. So, ang nagiging resulta, hirap makatulog sa tamang oras yung isang tao, mas prone sa puyat or naaantok siya sa maling oras or hindi appropriate na oras. Now, one of the types of the circadian rhythm are delayed sleep phase at saka yung tinatawag nating jet lag. Yung delayed sleep phase, nangyayari ito kapag yung circadian schedule ng tao ay hindi tugma sa socially acceptable hours. Example, hindi makatulog siya ng maaga kaya late na siya nagigising. So, mas sanay siyang matulog ng 2 a.m. kaya mas sanay siyang gumising around 11 a.m. Pero kailangan niyang pumasok ng 7 a.m. sa school, kaya ang nangyayari, lagi siyang napupuyat. The delayed sleep phase is common among adolescents and common among young adults kasi adolescents and young adults are engaged to several activities. Next is jet lag. Jet lag is one of the common term na ginagamit natin, especially for the travelers. Travelers na they are exploring other side of Earth, other side of the world, na iba na yung time zone. Nangyayari ito kapag may conflict sa sleep-wake schedule at bagong time zone na napupuntahan ng isang individual. Other circadian rhythm sleep-wake disorders are shift work and unspecified problems. For the shift work, ito naman nangyayari if the conflict is related to the demands of work. O halimbawa, yung mga nurses, doctors, or factory workers na ang trabaho nila ay panggabi or naro-rotate sila sa night shift, nahihirapan silang mag-adapt or mag-adjust to go to sleep during the daytime kasi ang trabaho nga nila sa gabi. So then definitely daytime will be their time to recover, to rest para makabawi dun sa pagod nila sa trabaho. For the unspecified circadian rhythm disorder naman, eto naman, yung individual, longer than 24 hours na siyang gising kahit na may mga environmental cues na nag-uudyok sa kanya na matulog. Let's say, yung brightness or darkness ng kanyang paligid. It's a varying sleep problem. Minsan late sleep onset ang nangyayari, minsan irregular wake times naman. Now, how can we treat or how can we manage circadian rhythm disorders? So we can educate them through sleep hygiene measure. We can administer melatonin, especially if there are medications prescribed to the client na pwedeng makapagpa-induce or makatulong in regulating the sleep. We can also do bright light therapy. Ito yung exposure to bright light when wakefulness is initiated. And then, dark area naman or avoiding bright lights naman kapag kinakailangan na nating patulugin ang pasyente or ang isang tao. And I think this is the last part of the sleep-wake disorders topic, all about the parasomnia. Ang parasomnia ay isang abnormal behavior or a psychological event na nangyayari habang tulog or let's say there are specific sleep stages or transition during the sleep-wake cycle. So dito pumapasok yung mga topics about sleepwalking, concepts about nightmares or terrors while asleep or during asleep, mga sleep talking as well. So it's a combination of a physiological activation and sleep stage association. There are several subtypes. I think there are 6 on the list. The first one are the nightmare disorder. Ito yung mga repeated frightening dreams na nagigising ang tao kasi very vivid sa kanyang utak, sa kanyang isipan, yung hindi magandang panaginip na naranasan niya or nakita niya. So, nagpo-provoke ito ng anxiety at ng takot among individuals. There are also what we call sleep terror disorder. Ito naman, it's quite common among kids. It's an abrupt awakening mula sa pagkakatulog na may kasamang panic, pag-iyak, or pagsigaw or scream. Kasi nga, hindi ito katulad ng nightmares lamang dahil hindi vivid dreams ito kung hindi sudden arousal with an intense fear. Yung bigla-biglang napapasigaw yung bata sa gabi or bigla-biglang umiiyak out of sa kanyang pagkakatulog. The next one is what we call the sleepwalking disorder. It's a repeated episode ng complex motor behavior habang tulog. Ito yung mga taong bumabangon, maglalakad-lakad, o kaya gumagawa ng mga simple actions kahit they are unconscious because they are still in deep sleep. But people appear disoriented and confused kapag nagising na sila. Usually ito sa bata, nangyayari sa edad na 4 to 8 years old, pero nawawala naman once they reach adolescence. The next one is what we call the sleep disorder related to another mental disorder. May association or secondary yung sleep problem sa isang mental or psychiatric illness or disorder. Usually, it is associated with a psychotic problem or psychotic disorder such as schizophrenia or mga psychotic episodes. Pwede din itong accompanied with a mood disorder or anxiety. Now, we also have sleep disorders related to general medical condition. Secondary to a medical illness naman, physiological problem. Halimbawa, mga cerebrovascular disease, endocrine conditions like thyroid problems, diabetes. It could be a degenerative neurological illness like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. For the substance-induced sleep disorder naman, it's caused by a direct physiological effect of a substance. Halimbawa, under the influence of toxins, of drugs, of alcohol, na nagli-lead into insomnia or hirap sa pagkakatulog, o kaya naman hypersomnia, sobra-sobrang antok. Now, all of these can be managed based on the signs and symptoms presented by our client. And this could be manageable with all those psychotherapy, pero minsan kinakailangan natin ng medications to help induce sleep among those individuals. And dito po nagtatapos ang topic natin all about sleep-wake disorders. If you have any concerns or questions, you may send it to my email address acdemesa@fatima.edu.ph. Maraming salamat po.